commodities. 642, good morning. Let's go to the phones here where we have from the Salvation Army, and kind of keeping with the theme this week, they're out there testing the homeless, Sabrina?
Yes, they are. I think they're in Paseo today, I believe.
Yeah, and so I want to bring from the Salvation Army Major Tom onto the show. Good morning, Major.
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Sabrina.
Good morning.
I guess, first of all, were you guys involved with the food distribution this morning?
No, not with the GDOE. They're in our backyard, but no, we didn't help with that. But we're glad that food's going out to them.
Right, and so I don't know if you heard the news, but before the commodities distribution even opened, they shut it down because there were 2,000 cars already, and I guess they had there's only 2,000 bags, so a lot of people got turned away this morning.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm getting those reports now, and I know that we were kind of concerned about the location in Tejan where everything is, because there's only one way in and one way out, and it gets quite congested, especially when the high school's in session, and so that area gets congested pretty quickly, and so we had some concerns about that, but we hope that they will able to work out their logistics to get that a smoother transition, to get people in and out of that, to get their food.
Kind of curious, Major Tom, because we haven't talked to you in a few weeks, and since the last time we spoke, the stimulus checks have hit the island. But, the feeling I'm getting is that doesn't mean everyone's okay now. And I'm not sure what it translates to on your end as far as, like, assistance that you guys are giving out goes. So could you just tell us what's it been like with Salvation Army for the last 2-3 weeks?
Yeah, well, this is going in our 8th week of the COVID pandemic response, and the Salvation Army, we're firing as many cylinders right now as we can. We're still staying consistent with our appointments. Last week, the week of 18th to the 22nd, saw 113 individuals, which translates to about 430 people assisted out of those family groups. So we're still seeing about 20 to 25, 30 appointments a day, and 113 of those, Chris, of that number I just shared, are still new clients to the Salvation Army, which means these are new COVID-19 people who have been affected by COVID-19 by loss of hours or lost your job, furloughed, whatever it might be.
Yeah, there's still no assistance for them because we're trying to figure out this unemployment.
Yeah, I think that right now, I mean, the stimulus may have been a nice comfort for the moment kind of thing. But I know some people are worried that their bills are stacking up, their rent's stacking up, even though they haven't had to pay for a couple months. There's just a lot of concern, I think, financially for people. Food is always a good thing to help people out, but I think people long term, once we get into July and August, people are really going to be looking for assistance for maybe some rental assistance and some other kind of thing to help them to catch up, where our bills have kind of been laying low for a minute, and it's going to catch up eventually.
Well, I know the bank is calling.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
No laughing matter, but you're right, and I think that stimulus for some people was a comfort. For others, it was just like they were at such a deficit from spending on food, from staying home, to obviously being out of work or having their hours affected, and now we're kind of in this desert where we heard from the labor director yesterday that the application, he wants to have it out by this week, but then he's saying that after you turn in that application, he's anticipating a 3-week turnaround from turning into the application to issuing of the check. So we're, hung out to dry. Yeah, I don't know if it's anybody's fault necessarily, but yeah, that's the reality our people are looking at for the next month.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people are talking about, I've heard a lot of things about the retroactive payment, but if people still have a lot of their bills stacking up, that's going to go pretty quick, and the high cost of living in Guam, it's going to catch up rapidly, and people are still going to find themselves in debt versus coming out ahead. At least that's what I'm forecasting. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, for the sake of those who are waiting on the money to come in. But as we're forecasting this, it looks like people will still be behind going into summer and even maybe into the fall.
Major Tom, I wanted to just ask about the Lighthouse Recovery Center. Is that still open, or has it reopened?
Yes, we've remained open. The Lighthouse Recovery Center, with our director Val and her team, have been open since we've never closed during the pandemic started. What we did is we limited the amount of intakes. We had a lot of souls in the building still, but now we're reopening little by little and working with those who can be intaked into the program to be COVID tested. They may have to be quarantined when they come into the building, like just to keep the house safe, because in shelters, even the common cold spreads pretty quickly. But our team has remained constant. They're doing telemedding with some of their outpatient services, and this way they're still getting their counseling in with their clients. So the Lighthouse is still open and still, and now we're trying to get back to that place where we're having more people come in for their drug testing, and also for the beds being reopened for rehabilitation.
Are you seeing an increased need to provide services on that end?
Well, I would think that our director Val would be able to answer that more with more stats, but I would think that during this time, I'm sure that those who would seek rehabilitation may have not and stayed out on their addiction because there was no opportunity. But we hope that that's not the case. But again, we see the realities of what pandemic can do when it concerns people. Still, are caught up in their addiction or whatever that is, and so we're hoping that as we come out of this, that these services will be once again reopened and engaging with those people to come in and find treatment, and also to just start their lives over again, free from addiction. And the Lighthouse Recovery Center has been open for several, over 20 years already, and they've saved so many lives from their drug addiction. And so I think that the Lighthouse is really, that's what it is. It's a lighthouse for people finding a new life for themselves. And we're excited for the future of the Lighthouse as it reopens and re-engages with that community.
Yeah, I asked that because there was this really disturbing story that we posted last night or yesterday about some children who were found in poor living conditions, and they were like ages 6, 3, 2, and 1, and it seemed that drugs may have been involved, and so
right. Yeah, this is. I know we've seen reports of domestic violence on the rise and different things like that. People being furloughed or being quarantined, and so there's a lot of concerns that we're going to learn out of this when we're talking about meeting some social needs in our community, and even stateside with drug abuse and domestic violence, those kind of things that will most likely come to light and to the surface of things as we're coming through this period.
Well, again, thanks for at least doing what you guys can, helping people with the food and also with their addictions.
Well, during Mother's Day, I have a kind of a positive, great story. Hopefully, you'll enjoy this. Is that we had received a donation from DFS of Godiva chocolate that was sitting in a warehouse that was destined for our tourists, but since that isn't happening, they wanted to put it out for use. So we had a couple pallets, and we got it right before Mother's Day. And so for during that week, as individuals, especially moms, we had Salvation Army cards made up, handwritten notes saying Happy Mother's Day, and we were giving box of chocolates to moms because some of them have been isolated from their families, and we were able to give chocolates, they didn't expect it, and it was a kind of a unexpected gift to them, and their faces just were expressions were, oh, this is great. They're tearing up how great it was to be honored on Mother's Day. And then we got a call to do a grocery delivery for a senior in Tucumán, and we brought her food and her cases of water, and we surprised her with, and she was a grandma or whatever. You could tell that she was already grateful for the food we brought, and then when we gave her her box of chocolates, she was tearing up. It was such an emotional time, but these are the kind of things when you're doing social services like this, and we talk about numbers of how many people we're assisting, but it's really about the impact of someone extending an arm of compassion during an uncertain time. And we're grateful for that donation and all the other donations we've received, from the bottled water to canned food drives and all those kind of things. But every little bit helps make people a little more comfortable during this time. And so I just share those stories because there's a lot of negativity sometimes, and but we've seen some great things, and those are the kind of stories that make us push on. That even in the darkest times, they're still good, and God is still good. So.
Well, thank you for sharing that story. And you're right; it kind of does help you keep going. I know it helps me because there's so much things that we're trying to keep track of, and that we are tracking. And sometimes it's not always good news.
Right. Yeah. Major Tom. So I know that you had told me in passing that you're actually your time here is running out. So what can you tell us about that? When are you leaving, and where are you going, and who's going to replace you?
Well, the Salvation Army runs paramilitary, and 4 years ago we got the call to come to Guam from the States, and we left our daughter and granddaughter and our family behind, and we embraced a new family here in Guam. And Jason Salas has officially said we're Guamanian, so I'm going to take that title. So I wear that badge just proudly. So we leave Guam as Guamanians back to the States. We're appointed as officers and command and area leaders in Boise, Idaho, which means I'm going to have to buy a jacket now. But we leave at the end of June, probably the week of the 22nd. And then there'll be new officers coming from the States. They're great officers, captains. They're on their way. Carrie and Eric Rudd. They'll be here, and they're excited about embracing Guam as well, and carrying on the great work that the Salvation Army is doing. And so for us, we're just we're going to be hitting the gas till the day we have to get on a plane here, because the work here is important. And even with this outreach we're doing with the Homeless Coalition, our Salvation Army team has been out there. We were out there yesterday. Guam Post were kind of tailing us with some of our homeless folks that we were doing testing for. So even though we're on the move and packing and in between of all that, we still love Guam and want the best for those we're serving. And for you guys too. You've been great. KUAM has been a great partner to the Salvation Army, and getting the word out of our work and our mission. So we've been really great to have that partnership with you.
Well, we're certainly going to miss you guys. Best of luck to you guys and safe travels. But the Rudds are really going to have some big shoes to fill.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, what are you, like a size 20? You got them Ronald McDonald shoes. That's how big shoes they got to fill.
But please let them know, we're still willing to partner with them when they come on board.
For sure. We're looking forward to that, and they'll set up a time to either do an interview or a call-in like this to say, here we are, and that kind of thing. So, but we're, it's always hard to say goodbye, especially in an island like this. You become family very quickly, and we have a great staff at the Salvation Army who are always willing to do what it takes to help others. And so we leave the Rudds in good hands. And so we're excited about the future for them and for what the Salvation Army lies ahead. We have the women's, if you remember, the Lighthouse Women's Center going to be built there in Teton this year, hopefully in partnership with Gura, that once everything kind of whatever that new normal looks like, that we can have a crew come in and start building that, to have a new facility for women to seek treatment. And of course, our food pantry is going to continue to put out. And so I think that the future is bright for what the Salvation Army offers on island.
Well, Major Tom, I just guess in closing, seeing as how there's a significant amount of people who were turned away today, are you guys offering any services, and then what number do they call to make an appointment and avail of that?
Well, they could still call our number at 477-9588.
All right.
To set an appointment.
Okay. And that's social, Salvation Army, they've been setting the appointments because of the social distancing and kind of like control the flow of traffic into the facility, right, Major?
That's correct.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And hey, you got a month left. Don't be a stranger. Let's go out with a bang. I mean, you are banging it out there, man. You're bringing it. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you,
All right.
and we'll be in touch again.
Okay, Major.
Be safe.
All right. God bless.
All right. You too.
Bye.
Wash your hands. 6:58. Yeah. Wow. Been a good run with Major Tom. Rough year for these guys, though. I remember responding to when their store was broken into. It was just a few months ago. What a bum deal, man. They had they got these security systems, ironically, donated, and they were stolen. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. Major Tom, that doesn't change his vibe at all. He's still out here trying to do things. But obviously he had a good run here in the last 4 years, and I'm very thankful and appreciative of the work he's been able to do. And he sends us these charts, Bree, and they kind of like break down the aid that they've given out. And if you look at it, I mean, for every disaster, I mean, even the federal government shutdown, they've been providing food assistance to people, and it's been consistent. So,
and you can always count on the Salvation Army to be there.